About a month before returning to development on Disinherited full-time, something monumental happened. Silksong came out. Now, as a truly void-souled vessel myself, I wasn't gonna not play it. I mean, my most popular video was me obsessing over the art style of the first game for like 17 minutes. But now, as an indie developer, I have a professional obligation to put 75 hours into 100%ing it. And my god, it is truly a triumph of a game. Of all of the things that I could praise and analyze and obsess over, from the story to the score to the fully leveled up environment art and world design, one thing struck me the hardest. And no, it wasn't the 2 masks of contact damage. It was Hornet's animation. This is fully a work of art made with love by a master. The sprinting, the strikes, the detail, the life, everything about controlling her feels like pure bliss. And so much of that is down to the shapes and the gesture and the timing. I left Silksong feeling so inspired to work on my character controller. Now, story-wise, Hornet could not be more different from my protagonist, Samuel. Hornet is a ruthless, agile, godlike hunter, and Samuel is a poet who recently got un-nepo-babied. The way these characters move needs to reflect that. And also, outside of their side-scrolling platforming and combat, Disinherited and Silksong have very different game design needs as well. For example, Samuel needs to be able to pick things up, hold them while doing every other animation, and be able to aim them in any direction to throw them. Still, the silken inspiration was flowing, and that inspiration quickly became something more like obsession. Which is why this little animation polish pass became a month-long complete overhaul where I abandoned my old process entirely. So come along on this journey with me and see where it ended up. I'm Dryden Thomas, and I am charging toward a full Steam demo of Disinherited. It's a side-scrolling roguelike game where you throw, catch, and parry your way through Death's domain to slay the Grim Reaper and claim eternal life, all to spite your father, who cut you out of his will. It all started with the throwing animation. This was barely passable in the first demo, where I was able to create a blend tree that blended between 5 different angles of throwing. The arc line here does the heavy lifting of showing where your shot is going to go, but the animation just rigidly snaps. It's not great. I figured I had a couple of options. 1, I could draw a lot more frames. This would either be a ton of work, or I would have the same problem and just less of it. 2, I could split his body into different parts for this animation and have him hinge at the hips. It's not a bad plan, but the positioning of the coat makes it so that you'd need at least 4 layers to make this work, and it would be almost as difficult as option 3, creating a fully rigged 2D bone animation. While I've been using this technique for all of the other characters, Samuel has been fully hand-drawn frame-by-frame animations. This means that every frame of every movement is a separate drawing, and it's played like a flipbook. This is how Team Cherry animates everything in the Hollow Knight games, and I find that this method gives you a lot of room for expressiveness. Because I wanted Samuel to feel more alive, like a living intruder into Death's dead domain, having him have a different technique than the others made sense. But as we can see, we're already butting up against a major limitation with this animation technique. So my plan was to swap out boneless Samuel for a bone-in version, just for the aiming animation, so that he could have access to all those sweet, sweet angles. And it ended up looking really good, in my opinion. It was just such a huge upgrade from the earlier version. It looks so much smoother and clearer. Then I wanted to improve some other animations. For one thing, I had only 1 swipe for the quick bash. You can quick bash about once per second, which ends up looking kind of repetitive. So I drew another swipe animation going the other direction and made them alternate. The heavy bash was feeling a bit underloved too, so I redid it to have more impact and pop. And during this process, I took some time to redo and update the VFX a bit. One thing I was really missing coming out from Silksong was the upward attack. So I went ahead and did 2 up bashes as well, one coming toward the camera and the other one going away. And while I was at it, I made an idle where you could just look upward. These new attack animations looked good on the ground, but what about in midair? The feet looking so flat and planted didn't work, so I did versions of all these 4 where the feet were more dangling. But there was still one more problem. The quick bash shouldn't stop you from running. And this one really broke my brain. While you can certainly draw the frames of an attack while running, the attack can start at any frame during the run animation, so it's going to create this hitching effect. And a lot of games simply Don't care about this, but I was getting obsessed. I was once again considering separating out the legs and the upper body. I remembered the smoothness of the aiming animation, and I finally faced the truth that I'd been avoiding all along. It was time to let Samuel have bones. So yeah, this meant basically throwing away weeks of work and adding weeks more onto my plate. And there's a lot of personality in the old animations that I was really worried about preserving. It took about 8 tries to finally get a rig that was viable through all of his various poses, from running and jumping to crawling and climbing and rolling. And then the process of redoing about 30 animations and carefully, surgically splicing them into the old animator was tedious and unwieldy and messy. Individually, making one of these animations is quite a bit faster than drawing a whole sprite sheet, but when you have to do them all in a row, it's overwhelming. And you can discover a host of new and unusual bugs. But once I saw the new run animation with him holding something, I knew that I was on the right path. See, with rigged animation, Samuel gets a new superpower: the ability to look like he is actually holding something. See how in the old animation the items just kind of hover in front of the holding hand? That's totally fine, and it's been good enough for a lot of other major games, but I think you get another level of immersion and expressiveness from a realistic grip. And look at him go! With just a few more lines of code, he looks like he's actually holding that sickle. Speaking of holding things, I felt like it was time to polish up the catch. Up until now, an item in catching range just takes on a vibrant orange outline. When you press catch, it pops into your hand instantly. But now I've added a little juice. The item now flashes the catch swirl, then quickly shoots into your hand and leaves behind a small trail before offering a little burst of particles when it makes contact. I also had it do the particle burst when switching between held items, which adds a lot of fun to this little interaction. But we're just getting started. Check out his dodge roll. Even though I thought that was one of the better animations in the old version, this one is so much smoother since it has all 60 frames per second to work with. And the climb is night and day different. You may have noticed another detail too. These abilities use stamina, and even though there are a couple indicators in the form of sweat, the gauge, and this red pulsing, I replaced the old red pulsing with a new, more noticeable shader effect that turns the black to red, getting faster and brighter as he gets closer to exhaustion. And then by layering animations, I was finally able to slay the white whale, attacking while running. Animations in lower layers override the settings in the upper layers. As long as I only animate the necessary upper body bones in an attack animation, his legs can be doing whatever they need to, standing still, running, or dangling. I can also add all kinds of nuance. While in midair, he used to only have one animation loop. Now, using these blend trees, I can have his pose change depending on how fast he's going horizontally, which makes him look a lot more energetic and responsive. And let's talk about one more Silksong influence. Samuel is about as tall as Hornet, so without a very high jump, he has trouble getting his feet up onto ledges. This hasn't been a problem because he has a climb and a climb up animation. But it became a problem in these one-way passable platforms. By the way, for being so ubiquitous in games, these have been an absolute nightmare to get smooth. Just like Hornet, I let Samuel get a little boost of momentum if he's most of the way up onto one of the platforms, and if you time it right, you can get even more air out of a jump while boosting, or chain these together. And I could not leave out our friend, the Pogo. Now this Pogo may look a lot like the Link DuckTales Shovel Knight Pogo, but you do actually have to activate it with a button press. But unlike the Hollow Knight Pogo, you can bounce off of just about anything, including the ground. This is particularly useful for conserving the momentum you get from rolling into a jump. I added a little splash of VFX for when this hits the ground, and added the same for when the front attacks knock you back. And there are a couple other animation details here that were made so much easier by the rigging. Check out these tiny little movement transitions. There's a charming little squash when he lands. There's a quick push forward when he starts running. And there's a brief stretch when he jumps too. And now when he hits the ground with some momentum left, he screeches to a halt with his hands out in front. And I don't have to worry about transitioning to and from those transitional states because the bones gradually do it at 60 frames per second. So yeah. Even though I am exhausted from basically starting from scratch with a new character, I think what we have now is a Samuel who's more immersive, more polished, more customizable, and just so much more fun to play as. And despite my biggest fear when I started this new animation process, I think he looks more alive than ever. Thank you so much to my channel members for supporting my descent into perfectionism, especially AJ Havoc in the Reaper Council. Your support means so much to me. I hope all of you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.